Okay, so we're going to use a thing called synthetic division to find zeros of polynomial functions. And again, the word zeros, those are like zeros, roots. Roots is another word for zeros. They could say roots. Zeros, roots, solutions, they're all like the same thing. Okay, so basically like we were doing, you're given some kind of function, like f of x equals, let's try to write one out, 3x to the third minus 5x squared minus 11x minus 3. So the first step you've already learned was to list all the possible factors of the number. So first it'll say list all possible factors or all possible roots. So they give you an equation and they'll say like list all the possibilities, list all the possible roots. Okay, so we just did that like on your bell ringer, on your warm-up. Again, you have to look at the first number in the problem and the last number in the problem. The first number, that's actually Q. And the one at the end is P. This is P, and this one's Q. Okay, so you have to remember to do this, it's plus or minus, every single answer is plus or minus, and it's P over Q. Like all the factors. So let's figure this out. So the P number in this case was 3. What are the factors of 3? Yeah, so you just have to know the factors of 3, like 1 and 3. And at this time I just did an easy one. The Q number is also 3. So it's also 3. So the factors of that are 1 and 3 also, correct? So could you do a list of all the possible answers to this problem? So you got to make it into a list. So what do you think? What are our answers? Possibilities. 1, 1/3, okay, plus or minus 1/3. 3, plus or minus 3. Oh, and then the last one's 3 over 3. What's 3 over 3? It's 1 again, so you don't have to list that again. Okay, so there's my list of all the possibilities. These are possible answers to that question up above. So how do you know which ones are the correct answers? Well, you do a thing called synthetic division. You're going to choose one of these numbers to try. Let's just start with 1, since that's an easy number. You're going to do, I make like a little box, is usually how I do it. I've seen it done. Make like a little box, and we're going to try one of these numbers. Like we'll try the number 1. That's one of our options, 1. Now, the problem we have up here, it's 3x to the third minus 5x squared minus 11x minus 3. We just have to write down the numbers that are, to do synthetic division, it kind of helps you so you don't have to worry about all these letters. You just look at the numbers that are in that problem. Okay, and it's in order. We have x to the third, x to the second. You have to make sure your problem's in order. Okay, so we got a 3 by the x to the third, so I'm just going to write 3 down. The next number that's by x squared is negative 5, so you have to write negative 5. You got to write the negative also. The next number is negative 11. You know, it says negative 11x, so I just have to write negative 11 down. And then the last number is negative 3. So this is kind of nice. I like synthetic division because it goes pretty quickly, and you just have to get used to it the first time. Like, how do you do this? Okay, so you just kind of underline these. It saves time because you guys learned, like in elementary school and stuff, long division. I don't really want to do like a big problem like this, like I have on the board. I don't really want to do long division. This is like a shortcut to long division. Remember doing long dividing problems when you were younger? See, this would be a long dividing problem with a bunch of x's in it, and I don't want to. I'm trying to make it simpler. This is like a shortcut way. Now that's not to say I'll never show you that. We'll probably do some of those in December. Some of the long way. I'm just doing the short way, just to like. It's easier. It is. We'll probably do the long way later. So you just write down the numbers from the problem, and we're going to try like one of these options. So 1, we're trying. You have to bring this 3 down. You always just bring the first number down to start. That's the first step. And then you have to multiply that number we just brought down. You have to multiply with the number in the box. Like, I'll draw like an arrow. Like, you have to multiply these. You have to multiply those. So what's 1 times 3? It's 3, right? So you put that under the next number. You put 3. And then these columns, you just add them as you go. You just add these. So now add that up. That's -2. Then you multiply again. It's multiply, then add. So now you take the 1 in the box again and multiply it by this. That'd be 1 times -2. That'd be -2. So you write it under the next number. Then you add this column. So it's multiply, then add. Then multiply with the number in the box, then add. So add this up. That'd be -13. Now multiply again. 1 times -13 is -13. Then add, so it's always add these columns. So if you add that up, that's -16. So then you look at this last number. If that last number is 0, then it worked. But it's not 0, so this is not the right answer. That did not work. So it's back to the drawing board. Okay, so this is not 0. So the 1 that we tried in the box is not a factor. It's not a root. It's not a solution. The last answer has to come out to 0. So I tried 1 and that did not work. So you have to try it again. So now you got to change the number in this box in the front. Let's try -1. We tried +1, that didn't work. Remember we had plus and minus, so let's try -1. And you do it again. You do the process all over again. Okay, so you bring this 3 down. Again, start over. So 1 didn't work, but now let's try -1. What's -1 times 3? -3, so you just put that under the next number, then add that up. So what does that add up to? -8. Now you multiply again, so it's always like go over to the box and multiply by this number at the bottom. So -1 times -8. That's 8. Then add this up. That'd be -3. Then what's -1 times -3? That's 3. Then add again. See, this one has a 0 at the end, so this one works. So -1 is one of the answers to this problem. So x equals -1. That's an answer. That's an answer. Okay, so now I like to show you can go. Now we have these numbers left. We had a 3 and a -8 and this -3 left. You can actually take those, and you don't really need the 0 now because that was the remainder. That's like a remainder 0. That means it went into it evenly. But these numbers left, 3, -8, -3, you can do synthetic division again and try to find another number that goes into this problem. Like off of our list, we've tried 1 and -1 so far. I try not to try the fractions unless I really have to. So how about let's try 3? You know, another option's like 3 or -3 in our list. Let's try 3. Let's see if 3 is another number that goes into this problem. And see, you can use the numbers that are left. It makes it something shorter that you're dealing with. Let's try 3. So bring the 3 down. 3 times 3 is 9. Then add this up. That's 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Look, I got a 0 again. 3 is another answer to this problem. X equals 3. That's another answer to this problem. See? If I tried it, it worked. 3 times 3 was 9. Added that up. 1 times 3 is 3. Added that up. If you get a 0 at the end, it's good. That means it is a factor of that problem. So 3 is another answer. So I did synthetic division a couple times now. And what I did, so you can use the numbers that are left to do it again. Then it's like not as long either. It's down to 3 numbers. Okay, now there's actually another answer to this problem. I can take these that are left and I can make this into an equation again. It's kind of cool. Like, remember we started with, the problem at the top was x to the 3rd power. I've divided twice and I found 2 roots that work. So I'm actually down, all I'm left with here is actually 3x plus 1. You can like make this back into an equation, put a variables back in. If you're left with just 2 things, that's the x, that's like 3x plus 1. It's kind of cool. You can just make it back into a little equation. So this is 3x plus 1. I can actually equal that to 0 and solve that and get the last answer. Or I could have done synthetic division again and more times and found the other answers. But I don't know, it's kind of easy when you get towards the end that this is just 3x, and that's just a single number, 3x plus 1. So if you just equal that to 0, and you get the other answers, -1 divided by 3, you get -1/3. See, then the last answer is x equals -1/3. Then you didn't have to do synthetic division with all the fractions either. I could have even done that on this step here. I could have made this an equation that would have been, like this would have been 3x squared minus 8x plus minus 3. I mean, it would have been 3x squared. Like these numbers here, that would have been 3x squared minus 8x minus 3. And I could have factored that. I could have made that an equation and factored that and still got the same answers. So there's multiple ways to do it. You can take the little remainders from the synthetic and make it back into an equation. So it's kind of cool. You can get the roots like that.